artificial but analytical intelligence. The results are out, and many would say that in a weird way, they were predictable. Yogendra Yadav has been speaking actively about the deletions in the voter list. Could that have a role to play with the result that we see in West Bengal? Mr. Yogendra Yadav, welcome to the Federal. I would like to know your initial views on these results before we kick off the discussion.
Sanket, it's a moment of reckoning for the opposition, for democratic opposition in this country. Moment to reflect, moment to ask some hard questions to themselves, and moment to ask some hard questions to the system that we have. It is quite clear that the result of which what happened in Bengal is the most important, undoubtedly. These results could not have happened only because of SIR, since you mentioned that right in the beginning. I think there is no doubt that such a large result comes about only when there is some popular unease, disappointment, or even anger. So there was anti-incumbency against Mamata government. That is something which is undeniable. The question that I have been asking even before the election and now even more sharply, is whether it was only a reflection of popular sentiment, which it was, for example, in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu's result can be entirely explained. You don't have to even refer to the Election Commission of India to say what happened in Tamil Nadu. People were unhappy. They wanted an alternative other than DMK. They did not want it to be ADMK because ADMK was not there, and ADMK was seen to be a proxy for BJP, which people didn't like. So they wanted a new alternative. A new person came in. Tamil Nadu has a tradition of film stars coming in. He was accepted. He has won. So that you can understand. You don't need to refer to Election Commission. Mostly when we refer to a cricket match, we don't have to talk about the umpire. Umpire was there. Whoever did well won the match. In the case of, similarly, in the case of Kerala, you don't have to refer to the Election Commission very much. Congress won. I don't think that's a great victory. I don't think I would give much credit to the winner or much discredit to the loser. It's a routine but deferred transition, which was deferred by 5 years. And since people gave back power to UDF after 5 years, they added some areas. With salary, sometimes you get a bit of areas. So they got some areas and they are back in power. In the case of Assam, I would say Election Commission mattered. Election Commission's conduct made a difference, both in allowing the ruling party to conduct the kind of vicious communal campaign that it did, but more importantly, by delimitation, by drawing of assembly constituency boundaries in such a way so as to favor the BJP very blatantly. Having said that, I would say even if Election Commission had not done this, BJP would have won Assam election. So the Election Commission's role is not decisive. It's there, it's bad, but it's not a decisive role in that sense. The story of Bengal is different. Again, in the case of Bengal, I would not say Election Commission is the only factor. The simple fact, the question is, how come a party which was ahead by 10 percentage point is now down by 4 percentage point? So that's a question which has to be answered with reference to every other thing. However, as I said right in the beginning, the question is, if SIR of the kind that we have seen in Bengal had not taken place, would we be looking at a different election result? Look at the figures. In SIR, again, we need to be careful about, as you said, analytical. We have to have analytical intelligence. So in all, about 90 lakh names have been deleted in West Bengal. We cannot say all the 90 lakh were targeted, because the first 58 lakhs which got deleted were like any other state, somewhat haphazard, slightly bad, erratic, arbitrary, against the poor, but there was no targeting involved. At least I could not detect any. But the very last stage of deletions that happened in West Bengal, which did not happen in any other state of India in SIR, which involved 27 lakh people who had given application, who had appeared for hearing, who brought their documents, mostly birth certificate or matriculation certificate more often. They had PAN cards, and in many cases, they even had passports. They have been deleted from voters list, this 27 lakhs. So I'll focus only on that because it is, these people are prima facie eligible because whenever they have appealed, and in the few cases that appellate tribunal has given awards, appellate tribunal has almost in all cases said, yes, yes, something wrong has been done, you should have been included. And because it is amply clear that there was targeting of Muslims and targeting of TMC supporters in this. That is why we need to ask this question. Suppose these 27 lakh persons were allowed, what would happen? We do not yet have the final figures, but approximately 27% would mean 4.3%. 27 lakhs would mean 4.3% of those who voted in Bengal. All right. What is the gap between the TMC and the BJP as of now? You can look at your computer. It's probably 4.4% or maybe 4.5%. We don't know. These figures might change. But you tell me now, what if these 4.3% were allowed to vote? That's a valid question. And it's not my question. It's a question asked by Justice Bagchi in the Supreme Court. I would like to see what he responds now to it, because he was the one who said, suppose in a constituency, the number of deleted voters is larger than the margin of victory for one party in that. What would happen? He did not make an assurance, and this was not part of the order, but he made this observation. Now, the trouble is that this observation applies not to one constituency. This observation applies to the whole of West Bengal today. Would the Supreme Court now step in? Would they say, no, something wrong has happened? You know, the same Supreme Court, may I remind you, Sanket, the Supreme Court, which has been so liberal, so conscientious, and so very sensitive on the election of Supreme Court Bar Association, and said that, you know, even those who became AOR after the last date of enrollment should be allowed to vote. After all, that's a fundamental right. I mean, how liberal, how nice. You almost feel like applauding. Except when you notice that the same Supreme Court says about 27 lakh people, it's all right. If you can't vote this election, you can vote next time. That is the problem. So this is a question that we need to confront. This is not to take away the fact of weaknesses of Trinamool Congress government. So to my mind, that today's verdict has dual messages for the opposition, democratic opposition in this country. One, they must introspect about the weakness of their strategy, about their lack of overall vision, about their inability to come together. Assam is a classic textbook case of how to lose an election. So opposition needs to think about it. At the same time, the opposition has to ask this hard question to itself and to the country. How do we participate in elections where the result appears to be curated, where already you have loaded the things in such a way that leaves me with no option? And the opposition has to say, okay, if we, has Indian democracy now, have we fallen below the minimum threshold of electoral integrity? Where do we draw the line? When do we draw the line? If not now, when? If not at West Bengal, where? These are questions that need to be asked.
I get what you're saying, Mr. Yogendra Yadav, but when you use your words, and it's an interesting choice of word, when elections are curated in such a way that it'll serve, at least make the task easy for a political party to perform its electoral task, then in that case, what can these political parties do? After all, eventually, what is the highest court of law? The Supreme Court? So that option was explored in the case of West Bengal. And there was no favorable result vis-a-vis ending the curation before the election. It may happen now or later, but the result has come. So then what precious little can be done?
So that's the hard question, and there are no simple answers. If the opposition says tomorrow we shall boycott the elections, people would say, dekho, bhag gaye, madan chhod ke bhag gaye, they've run away. And if they participate in the election where things are already curated, then people would say, "Oh, but you participated in the election. How can you complain now?" So it's a double bind kind of a situation. The opposition has to find a way. They have to put their heads together and think of a way out of this very difficult situation. But yes, I do think the use of the word curation is justified because if you look at the entire story of SIR in West Bengal, the story that I have narrated, I've written about, and so on, the one strand that runs through the story is someone has told election commission, go to Bengal and at least delete 5% votes. Then, at every step, election commission does something, then they do a roundabout. Every single action of election commission can be understood if you keep this at the back of your mind. And that is what I mean by curated outcomes. So once you do that, of course, that alone could not have ensured that people of Bengal are uneasy with the party, that their anger, all this is not something invented by the election commission. But and therefore, to explain the entire result with only that would be incorrect. However, when you analyze an election or when you analyze a match, you look at the turning point. You look at what is it that converted a victory into a defeat. That could be just 1 over in the middle of T20. That overturned it. So if you look at that way, the decisive factor here, the one factor which could have made a difference, is the intervention of election commission in West Bengal, which does not apply to Assam, which does not apply to Kerala or to Tamil Nadu.
I get your point. Mr. Yogendra Yadav, then in that case, do you feel armed with the, say, the generosity of these systems, institutions, and I would say even the acceptance of the Supreme Court, many more curations are possible going forward? Could this become a template?
That is precisely the fear. You see, the fear is what happened in Assam in the case of delimitation could become a national template. What happened in Bengal in the case of SIR could become a national template. What happened in Assam in the case of delimitation? In Assam, the boundaries were drawn in such a way as if someone was sitting with a booth level voting outcome of the previous election and saying, isko idhar, let's join this particular booth to this. Within one single panchayat, different booths within one single panchayat were allocated to 3 different assembly constituencies. This is the level to which the gerrymandering has taken place in Assam. Opposition fears that that could become a template for the entire country, and that, I believe, must be one of the reasons why the opposition is resisting delimitation at all cost. Similarly, SIR in West Bengal certainly can become a template. You've decided, okay, once you can get rid of about 4 to 5% of their votes, then it is possible for the BJP to win. Can it be used in Punjab tomorrow? You have to think about it. Can it be used in Tamil Nadu at some point? Areas which have been inaccessible for the BJP. Can it be used for those kinds of purposes? This is precisely the fear that people have. And this is the fear which not only the opposition, I think every single Indian must have this concern in the back of their mind. Because democracy is about the voters choosing the government, not about government choosing the voters.
Very interesting. Now, for the politically unlettered, Mr. Yogendra Yadav, would you like to explain to us and our viewers what is gerrymandering?
Yeah, that's a good. I'm sorry, I fall into these things because it's years of being trained into election studies has made me think of these things. So what happens is this: when new constituencies are drawn, it is called delimitation. When fresh boundaries are drawn, two things are in delimitation. Two things happen: fresh apportionment of seats for each state or each district. How many seats should come to that district or in that particular state? Second is, what would be exactly the boundary? Now, you would normally imagine in India, no one bothers about the exact boundary because the idea is that, look, that's kind of given. You follow the panchayat boundary or you follow the tehsil boundary and so on and so forth. And you add, give or take a little, and you have the boundary. This has been a non-issue in India. In America, this is a very critical part of the election game because unlike India, In America, MPs and MLAs, in their case, senators and congressmen, and their state assemblies, they themselves draw the boundary of the future election. This is the point. And because so, if you are an MP and you have to decide what the boundary of your constituency next time should be, what will you do? You will say, all right, I can't possibly get votes in these areas because these are black dominated areas. So why don't you carve the constituency in such a way that it avoids those areas? This has been a standard game in the US. And when Mr. Jerry did that some 150 years ago, one of the governors in the US, he did that. And he created a constituency which looked like a snake or meander, whatever that means. I don't even know what those things mean. It was then they called gerrymandering. Jerry had created a meander looking like constituency, which looked very strange. Indians did not know about it because these things did not take place in India because boundaries were drawn by a judge and by the election commission, which was seen to be neutral. So we have never known this American disease. But now in Assam and in Jammu and Kashmir, we have produced a textbook which Americans will come and learn from us. The kind of gerrymandering that has taken place in Assam. And the problem, Sanket, is that you and I can speak for half an hour. No one will understand. But please show the maps to your viewers. Once you show the maps, and I'll send you copies, these are official election commission maps. Just show your viewers the map of assembly constituencies in Assam. And everyone who understands tiny bit of politics would say, oh my God, this cannot be allowed. But this has happened in this country, done by the Election Commission of India. So that is the fear that can become a template. So basically the name of the game is this. How is it done? Here is a constituency which is, let's say, 60% Muslim. Here is a constituency that is 40% Muslim. BJP tends to lose both of them. So what would the BJP do? In this 60% constituency, BJP would add Muslims from this constituency, make it a 90% constituency. So we were losing this constituency by 20,000. We'll lose it by 70,000. How does it make a difference? But this constituency from 40% Muslim will now become only 10% Muslim. This is the game. This is the game that BJP has played in Assam. This is the game the opposition fears the BJP will play throughout the country in the name of delimitation. That is why they resist delimitation. Anyone would, if you know what the game is all about.
And that's the curation that you're talking about, the dual
Yes.
curation, SIR and delimitation or redrawing of the boundaries, gerrymandering, as you just explained. Very quickly,
Yeah, I call it the Desh Kal Patra. But there's a triple curation that's happening: Desh, Kal, and Patra. Desh is about region or territory or geography. The answer is delimitation and gerrymandering. Patra is about actors, voters. SIR is the solution for that for BJP. And Kal is about the calendar of election, and one nation, one election is a solution for that. So basically, the entire architecture of electoral democracy in our country is being transformed in order to ensure a permanent majority for the BJP. And this is what any Indian, any Democrat must be very, very worried about.
Okay, my final question, Mr. Yogendra Yadav, and that for the viewers of the Federal who have keen interest in what has happened in Tamil Nadu, how do you explain this dramatic rise of this actor Vijay and his TVK?
That's important and very interesting. I think something dramatic has happened there, something dramatic which underlines the strength of democracy. For a Democrat, whether you are a supporter of DMK or an opponent of DMK, that doesn't matter. As a Democrat, you would take heart from the fact that an establishment can be just brought down by a rank outsider. This is the beauty of democracy, and this is why people love elections and have faith in the system of elections. So what happened in Tamil Nadu can be explained by understanding the structural situation. Tamil Nadu has a Dravid model of Dravid vision. There is a Dravid ideology and political culture within which Tamil politics operates. DMK is the principal carrier today of that. People are unhappy. Any ruling party tends to be complacent. Any ruling party tends to be to have hubris, insensitive, and so on. People are unhappy. And please remember,
Mr. Yogendra Yadav, misusing the fact that they self-arm themselves as custodians and misusing that.
Absolutely, there is an element of that. And please do remember that in Tamil Nadu, almost like Kerala, none of these parties has managed to win twice, with just one exception when Jayalalitha won the election twice. So there is a space for opposition. The space cannot be occupied by AIADMK, partly because AIADMK is splitting, splintering, rejoining. You don't know who's AIADMK, what do they stand for. And also because AIADMK is largely seen to be a franchisee of the BJP. Which is to say BJP is running it from the back, which Tamils don't like. So there is a vacuum. The need then becomes a vacuum. I want an opposition, but the existing opposition doesn't quite fit the bill. In this vacuum walks in Mr. Vijay. He's following in the footsteps of MGR. In Tamil politics, people related to films coming into politics is nothing new. The same was true of Annadurai, the same was true of Karunanidhi, and the same model was at least tried by Rajnikant and also by Kamala Hassan. So Mr. Vijay walks in. Now, the interesting thing is, Vijay says, who is he following? He says he's the follower of Periyar, of Ambedkar, and Kamraj. He says he believes in Dravid ideology and Tamil nationalism. He says secularism is his creed. Incidentally, Vijay is a Christian. Secularism, he says, is his creed. He believes in caste census. He believes in politics of social justice. He believes in federalism. All this is classic Dravid ideology statements. So basically, Vijay creates a political alternative within the Dravid frame of doing politics. As he correctly points out, he says, DMK is my political opponent, BJP is my ideological opponent. So he occupies exactly the space which needed to be occupied. Naturally, his appeal is greater to the younger people. We know that his vote have come more from urban areas, more from the youth, more from women, and which is what has led to this dramatic transformation. So Tamil politics, the duopoly has been broken. And my own sense is that in the long run, the biggest sufferer will not be DMK, will actually be AIADMK, because AIADMK wanted to be, and DMK is here to stay. Even when they lose, DMK tends to come back. It's the AIADMK which may have faced a serious crisis of existence.
All right, Mr. Yogendra Yadav, thank you so much for your time. You've had a hectic day. Elections are always like that. Counting day is always like that for you. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you.